All right, let's dive into one of Japan's most epic, most defining national legends. Seriously, this is a story that has it all. Unwavering loyalty, incredible sacrifice, and, of course, some bloody vengeance. It's a tale that has literally echoed through the centuries and really shaped the soul of a nation.
47. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. That is the number at the absolute heart of this entire story. 47. That's how many masterless samurai made a choice that would make them legends forever.
And that's the real question, isn't it? What could possibly drive 47 warriors to sacrifice everything for honor? I mean everything. Their families, their futures, their own lives. To get to the bottom of that, we've got to go way back to the beginning.
So our story kicks off with the incident at Edo Castle. We're setting the scene in the year 1701. This is feudal Japan during what's known as the Genroku era. And you got to understand, this was a time of super rigid social codes, all under the absolute rule of the shogun in his massive castle at Edo, which we now call Tokyo.
Okay, so in this world, your status was literally everything. And near the top of that food chain, you had the daimyo. Think of them as powerful feudal lords, kind of like dukes or barons in Europe. They controlled huge chunks of land, had their own armies of samurai, and were vassals to the shogun. So yeah, being a daimyo meant you had a ton of power, but it also came with a whole lot of responsibility.
Now, at the very heart of this story is a major clash of personalities. On one side, you've got Lord Asano. He's a young daimyo, a man of honor, but maybe a little impulsive, a bit headstrong. And on the other side, we've got Lord Kira. He's this powerful, arrogant court official, basically a corrupt guy. See, Kira was supposed to teach Asano the ins and outs of court etiquette, but he kept demanding bribes. Asano, being a man of honor, refused. And that's when Kira started this relentless campaign of just publicly humiliating him over and over.
Well, eventually, Lord Asano was pushed right past his breaking point. And in a moment of pure rage, he did the one thing you could never, ever do. He drew his sword and attacked Kira, inside the shogun's palace. Now, you have to understand, this wasn't just a simple assault. This was a massive, profound violation of sacred law. The shogun's palace was considered hallowed ground. Drawing a weapon there, that was a fatal crime. No exceptions.
So the verdict came down, and it was swift and it was brutal. Lord Asano was sentenced to death. But for a samurai, just being executed like a common criminal was a huge dishonor. So instead, he was ordered to commit seppuku. It's a form of ritual suicide, and while it's incredibly gruesome, it was seen as a way for a samurai to die with his honor completely intact. It was like a final act of courage and control.
And with Asano's death, everything just falls apart for his clan. His lands are seized, his family name is dissolved, and his 300 loyal samurai. Overnight, they lose their master. They became rōnin. And what's a rōnin? It's a masterless samurai. In feudal Japan, this was a deep, deep disgrace. They were warriors adrift, totally stripped of their purpose, their land, their place in the world.
All right, Act 2, the ruse of the samurai. Because for a dedicated few of these now masterless rōnin, this wasn't the end of their story. Oh no, it was just the beginning of a secret, deadly new plan. A masterful deception that would, quite literally, become the stuff of legend.
So, a man named Oishi Kuranosuke, who was Lord Asano's most loyal and trusted advisor, he gets the most steadfast of the samurai together. And this is where that number comes back. 47 of them make a secret blood pact. They swore an oath that they would not let their master's death go unavenged. They were going to restore his honor no matter what it cost them.
Now, Lord Kira, he's not an idiot. He totally suspected that someone might try to get revenge, so he had spies watching the Ronin's every move. This is where Oishi proves he's a genius. To throw them off, he puts on the performance of a lifetime. I mean, he divorces his wife, he starts hanging out in geisha houses, he's seen drunk in public all the time, just completely acting like a disgraced, broken man. And the act was so good, so convincing, that Kira's spies eventually reported back that these guys were totally harmless. And just like that, Kira let his guard down.
Just think about the incredible discipline this took. This wasn't some hot-headed crime of passion. This was a cold, calculated plan that took almost 2 years to pull off. For nearly 2 whole years, these men waited. They scattered all across Japan, taking on new lives as merchants or monks, all while patiently, quietly waiting for Oishi to give the signal.
And now, for the climax, the assault of vengeance. After almost 2 long years of waiting, plotting, and pretending, the time had finally come. The moment for revenge was here.
Picture this. It's December 14th, 1702. a cold, snowy winter night. Under the cover of darkness, the 47 rōnin, dressed in simple, makeshift armor they'd cobbled together, gather outside Lord Kira's heavily guarded mansion in Edo. This was it, the moment of truth. There was absolutely no turning back now.
And their plan? It was a thing of beauty, a model of military precision. They split into two groups, one to hit the front gate, led by Oishi himself, and the other to attack from the back. A drum would signal the start of the assault, and a whistle would mean they'd found Kira. They were so thorough, they even sent messengers to the neighbors to let them know, hey, we're not robbers, we're samurai here to settle a score, just to make sure no innocent people got hurt. The battle was fierce, but the Ronin were just unstoppable. They fought their way through the mansion and finally found Lord Kira, cowering in a storage shed. Now get this, Oishi respectfully offers him the very same short sword that their master, Lord Asano, had used to commit seppuku. He's giving Kira a chance to die with some shred of honor. And Kira? He refuses. So they held him down and took his head.
But their mission still wasn't quite over. The 47 warriors then marched clear across the city of Edo, carrying Kira's head with them. Their destination was the Sengakuji Temple, the place where their master, Lord Asano, was buried. There, they carefully washed Kira's head in a well and placed it right in front of Asano's tomb, their act of vengeance finally, truly complete.
And that brings us to the final part, honor and the legend. Vengeance had been served, absolutely. But in the eyes of the law, they were murderers. And now came the final, and in many ways, the most important act of their entire story.
You see, their plan never, ever included an escape. Their duty was done, their master's honor was restored, and so they peacefully turned themselves in to the shogun's officials, completely prepared to face whatever consequences came their way. And man, this created a massive problem for the shogun. You have this huge dilemma, justice or law. I mean, on the one hand, the Ronin had acted perfectly according to the warrior code Bushido. They showed perfect loyalty. The public was going wild for them, calling them heroes. But they had also openly defied the shogun's authority and committed a crime. So what do? How do you uphold the law without completely disrespecting their samurai spirit?
In the end, the shogun came up with a kind of compromise. The law had to be respected, it couldn't be ignored, so they had to die. But, and this is a huge but, instead of being executed like common criminals, they were all granted the highest honor of committing seppuku, the same honorable end their master had meant. It was the government's way of acknowledging their unwavering loyalty and their samurai spirit.
And this is why their story became legendary. The 47 Ronin became the ultimate symbol of Bushido, that samurai code of honor. Their tale was immediately turned into kabuki plays, traditional Japanese theater, and it's been retold for centuries in books, in films, you name it. To this day, their graves are a place of national reverence, a timeless monument to loyalty above all else.
Which really leaves us with one final big question. Was their sacrifice actually justified? Think about it. They broke the law, they caused a major incident, and they gave up their lives, all for a master who was already gone. They chose loyalty over life itself. So what do you think? Was it a noble act of ultimate honor? Or was it a tragic waste, born from a code that was just too rigid? The fact that we're still asking that question is exactly why this legend continues to captivate us even 300 years later.